Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. The rock band Tesla plays Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia this Friday night. I spoke to guitarist Dave Rude about the band's biggest hits, from Signs to What You Give, and even asked what he thinks about sharing a band name with Elon Musk's electric car company.
Dave Rude, guitar player in Tesla.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right, so what all can we expect from the show? I guess will it be sort of like, a mix of Tesla's greatest hits? Is there anything, newer stuff from the new album Shock, or a little of both, I guess?
Well, we're in a cool position, right, with the legacy of the band. We've got a lot of records and a lot of sort of songs that people kind of demand to hear, so we always do, all the hits and some couple of like particular live fan favorites that, everyone sort of is expecting. And we still love to do all those songs. So it's really fun. But we also like to keep it a little bit interesting. And, we have a lot of diehards who come to like multiple shows and, so we'll throw in, deep tracks, album tracks, new songs, old songs that we haven't done in a long time, things like that, covers, just to spice it up. So sort of a good mix, and we just did this residency in Las Vegas a little over a week ago. And when we did that, we did a bunch of rehearsals and learned a bunch of, like old Tesla album deep tracks that hadn't been done in like decades. So, I think now that we got all those rehearsal days under our belt, we'll be able to bust those out on regular shows too. So I'm excited for that.
Nice. Now, what year did you join the band? It was in like the 2000s, I think.
Yeah, man, I joined in 2006. So it's been, a good 17 years. It's pretty crazy to think about.
Wow. So I guess that leads to my question. Like, so were you a fan of the band, like growing up, listening to them before joining them? I mean, it must have been an honor to finally join a band you've been listening to for so long.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, exactly. Like, yeah, I grew up listening to Tesla. I got the 5-man acoustical jam record when I was in 7th grade, and I had it on cassette, like the CD player yet. And I literally wore it out to where the writing was gone, and it was just like a blank piece of plastic with music inside, and followed the band ever since. And it all just sort of happened really randomly when Frank Hannon found me on MySpace in 2006, when MySpace was the thing to do, and I had my solo project that I had just started, and he saw a cool looking picture of a guy with a Les Paul. He's like, "Who's this dude?" And it all kind of went from there.
Where exactly did you grow up? Because you mentioned that you grew up listening to the band, but I want to make sure I have the deets right. Where exactly did you grow up?
I grew up in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area, and still live there to this day. So it's just a little over an hour south of Sacramento, where the band, was originally from, and most of the guys still live.
Nice. Now, just so I clarify, what album did you say you had?
I got the 5-man acoustical jam when I was in 7th grade.
Wow. So the 5-man acoustical jam was the first one you picked up in 7th grade. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was my gateway drug to Tesla.
Well, many of us have had gateway drugs to Tesla, I guess. So obviously you weren't there for the formation in 84 then, obviously, but I'm sure you've heard your fellow band members recount the story. So if you could, real quick, I'm sure the short version, how'd the guys all get together out in Sacramento?
Well, it started out as a band called City Kid. And it was Jeff and it was Brian and Frank, and then they got Jeff. I think it was all 5. Eventually, there was in the very beginning there was some other local guys that cycled through, but it ended up with the 5 original guys, and then started working with Geffen Records, and working on a new album, working on their first record, and through that process of pre-production on songs and stuff, they started talking about changing the name and decided to change it to Tesla, which was a very good move. And that was sort of it. And then the first record came out in 86, and within that year, kind of took off.
Yeah, that first one, Mechanical Resonance in 86, had a couple big hits on that. Modern Day Cowboy and Little Susie. Obviously, again, you weren't there for the putting together of those, but have they told you any stories about recording them, or just in general how fun it is to play as a guitarist? Whatever you got on that first album, those songs are fan favorites, man.
Oh yeah, totally. You know, those songs are just such a blast to play live because, you know, those songs, like the people in the crowd grew up with them, right? So when they hear them, they lose their mind, you know, and I can relate to it, even though I'm in the band now. I can still be like, yep, I feel that same excitement, and if I was in the crowd, I'd be like screaming just as loud. So, you know, to have that sort of electricity when people hear this their favorite Tesla song is always really, really exciting. And, you know, gosh, I think it was 2016. We did a live record of Mechanical Resonance in its entirety. And so we actually did go through and learn all, because we only do a few songs from that record now, but we went through and learned all the old album tracks and did the entire record over the course of a summer. We'd throw in different songs every night and recorded them, and then we put it all together as one thing. So that was sort of fun to kind of do a more recent interpretation of all those classic songs too.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I'm a big movie guy myself, so I'm pretty sure the video had a bunch of old movie for Modern Day Cowboy. I'm talking about. I think it was like Nikola Tesla playing clips of movies like High Noon and Scarface and Doctor Strangelove and a bunch of cool movies too. So I thought that was a fun little tidbit too.
Yeah, we do some of that in the we have video screens on stage behind us, and when we do Cowboy, there's like some of that old cowboy western footage is pretty cool.
Love it. You gotta. All right, cool. And then moving chronologically right along in '89, the second album, Great Radio Controversy, went double platinum, I think, with songs like Heaven's Trail and Love Song. Do any of those make it in the set?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like that's what I said. You know, there's a good amount of songs that, you know, I think we'd get run out of town if we didn't play every show. So, you know, Love Song, Susie, all that stuff we definitely got to do. And you know, one fun one on Great Radio that we learned for Vegas is Lady Luck, and we've been doing that a lot since we learned it for Vegas, and that one is really fun to do live because it's like an album track. You know, it wasn't a huge hit, but you know, all the fans know it and love it, and we haven't done it forever. So I mean, never since I've been in the band. That's almost 20 years. So it's been really great to do a little bit of the album stuff mixed in with the hits from that record.
I love it. I love it. And then of course, right after that in 1990 is the album that you're talking about, the one that you picked up as a middle schooler, seventh grade, I think.
Yes.
It was the live album, 5-man acoustical jam, obviously from the title, you know, spin off of 5-man Electric Band, who originally did Signs, but Tesla's cover of the song Signs, you know, signs everywhere, sign everyone. It's funny. I mentioned I was interviewing you know, Tesla. I mentioned to my wife and she was like, "Oh, Signs." So everybody knows your everyone, at least our age, know your version. Yeah. So I guess I don't know what am I asking about this? I'm just raving about it. Reel in for a question, Jason. What's the key to a kick-ass cover, I guess I'll say?
Gosh, you know, it's funny because Tesla does have like a couple of biggest Tesla songs are covers, but I don't know, you know, like because Little Susie's a cover, right? And Great. from the earlier record, and that one is an entirely different, you know, interpretation from the original. So I would say in general that can be a big thing that really makes it a band's own. If you really, I mean, obviously Jeff's got such a unique voice and way different than the original. So on really any of those covers. So I think that's a big part of it is sort of putting your own stamp with the vocals and, you know, maybe the arrangement. And of course Signs was not a big departure arrangement wise, but just the fact that it's Jeff singing and it's got a lot more sort of hard rock energy, even being acoustic. I think that just made it, you know, really unique. And I mean, honestly, I really think the majority of people don't know that Signs is a cover. I definitely know most of them don't know Little Susie is a cover, and I didn't for years too. When I was a kid, I just thought they wrote them because it's like it's so just linked to the band, and you know, you can hear the originals, but you'll think of the Tesla version for most of those songs. At least I do, you know.
Oh, same. I mean, and just to clarify, Little Susie is not the Wake Up Little Susie Everly Brothers. It was the PhD British duo, I think it was called.
Yes.
They did the original, but Tesla, of course, you're synonymous with it. And then, of course, Signs is the 5-man electric band. And we talk about the
Exactly.
meaning of the song as well, wasn't it? Isn't it? Everyone just thinks of it as this catchy thing, but it's more like it's sort of like the signs that towns would put up back in the day. No long-haired freaky people quote. You know what I mean? Like, isn't it about like, yeah, I don't know, go into the meaning of it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always taken it to be kind of being true to yourself and not worrying about trying to conform to what other people think you should be doing,
Right,
and how you
right.
should live, right? And that's, geez, that song was from the '70s, and it still rings just as true today. I mean, as soon as we hit that, Frank hits the first, when we do that live, people lose their minds, and it's like that one gets one of, if not the biggest reactions every night, no matter what country, everyone loses their mind on that. And I think it's just because it's a sentiment that pretty much everyone can relate to, but especially, that rock and roll crowd, the classic rock, older school crowd. Because, these days, it's probably a good thing, but genres are so much less defined, and it's just sort of a hodgepodge of music, and you like what you like, and it's no big deal. But when I was growing up, and definitely before, it's like if you were a rocker, you were kind of a little bit of an outcast, and there was kind of like a sort of a stigma to it, and kind of like a us against them vibe with people who like other kind of music. So that, I feel, probably makes the sentiment of those lyrics even stronger for a crowd like ours.
Right. Stay true to the genre you like too.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
well, cool. Well, we obviously I won't make you go through all the albums because you would probably kill me at that point.
Discography,
Yeah, it would
track
kill
by
me. But
track.
I do want to at least hit the Psychotic Supper
Yeah,
because
man.
it went platinum again. Actually, it might have charted the highest of any of the albums, even higher than, or at least on the rock charts, higher than any of the ones we even talked about. So talk about any of your favorites as the guitarist that you get to play off of that, Edison's Medicine, or
Oh,
which of your favorites on that?
dude, yeah. I mean, Psychotic is still, that's my favorite Tesla record, like hands down. I love every song on that record. I think it's a classic. And everything, the production, the performance, that was really a band at their peak, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just magic. So, What You Give is one of my favorite songs ever by anyone. Like it's up there with the Beatles and Zeppelin for me. And that was before I had ever even met anyone in Tesla. I just, that song has always really struck a chord
So
in
why
me. So
is
to be
that?
able to
Why is
play,
that? Track 10, What You Give. Why is that? Why did that always stand out for you?
gosh, I don't know. It's just, it's, I think that initial opening guitar line, the acoustic, it's so weird. It's so unique. And it's, it's just really interesting, and just for some reason it just really resonates with me. It just gets me. Even now, every time I hear it, it's like I just love hearing that. It's just perfect, and then also that solo. I think that's one of the best guitar solos that's ever been recorded. And I'd put that up against Eddie Van Halen or Slash or Jimmy Page or anybody. And it's just so melodic and lyrical, and everything. So to be able to get to do that and play that live every night, and that's one of those ones that we have to play. Like people get mad, you don't do what you give. So that's always one of my favorite points in the set for sure.
Thanks for scatting or humming a few of the notes. If I close my eyes, I swear I heard a guitar somewhere.
Yeah,
Dude, that was pretty good. That's pretty good.
right, yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, I'm not gonna make you comment on all of them, but I will rattle the names: Bust a Nut, Into the
Sure.
Now, Forevermore, Simplicity, and Shock. Do you have any on any of those? Which of those do you have a personal favorite, or any that you're like always arguing the guys? Hey, we got to sneak that onto the set, even though it's from the later works, not the
Oh,
heyday prime albums, but you know what I
yeah,
mean.
yeah.
Do you have a favorite in there?
Oh man, I do really love all of them. And then the other one that is Real to Real, which was a covers record, but it was my first record in Tesla. So that one's always sort of got a special place for me, just because it was my first experience doing that.
That was
in the
2007,
band.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that one, dude. We recorded that record when I had been in the band for like 5 months. Like it was, I was so green and so new. It was pretty remarkable that they would be down to make a record with a guy they barely knew. Now looking, it felt natural at the time, but looking back now that I've been in the band so long, it's like, geez, I'd be really nervous if I only known a guy for less than half a year. And now we're making a record together, but
Yeah.
it went great. And it was great. But yeah, then Forevermore was a special one because that was the first, original studio record, and I got to co-write a bunch of songs on that, and so that was fun. I love that song, "I Want to Live." That was a single that did pretty well, and me and Brian wrote a lot of that one together, and so that's always a fun one. We haven't been doing it live lately, but we do often do it. Yeah, and really, they all have their own little special thing. They're all done differently. I'd say Shock is one of my favorite records for sure, and that one was really special because we got to make it with Phil Collen from Def Leppard, and just working with someone who's such a great musician and like songsmith and such a song guy. That really was, I think it really upped our game with just the writing of the songs before we even got to the recording, and then putting all the extra time into really making a really well produced record, and having it sonically be so just big. That's a really good memory for me, and I really love that record too. But all of them, man, they all have their special thing.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Phil Collen. We spoke to him. God, I interviewed him. I don't even remember when it was. Maybe like 5 years ago or something. Great dude, great dude. But he co-wrote a lot of the album, right?
He did, yeah. We he would. It was sort of a different way. That one we all kind of did, not individually, but it was like we would all kind of talk to Phil, one or two of us, and get song ideas together, and then show them to Phil. He'd say like, hey, how about like some kind of cool up-tempo riff rocker? You got any idea like that? And I'm like, okay, cool. And a couple of days later, send him a demo, and he'd be like, oh, that's great. What if you changed this part on the chorus? And what about if you did something like this on the bridge or something? And then like, okay, cool, re-record it, put in those new ideas, send it back. Oh, killer, that's great. And maybe a couple more back and forth like that if it needs it, and then sort of start showing it to the other guys, and start building the track. Like there were some songs on that record where any given one or two of us hadn't even heard the full song yet, and we were already recording master takes for the album on it. It's like, oh, this is how it goes. Because we were making that record while we were on tour with Def Leppard, and we would record in dressing rooms. So you'd be like, hey Dave, can you come in at 3 and record some guitar on this song that Frank wrote? Like, oh cool, yeah, like I've never heard that song before. Like, what key is it in? Like, okay, cool, let's go. And that actually really was super fun and kept it very spontaneous, I think.
I love it. And I want to know, like, as we're going through these albums, I'm noticing obviously they're charting in the US and some other countries, but the one consistent country like for the last 30 years has been Switzerland. Why are you guys so big in Switzerland?
That is hilarious.
Have you noticed that?
Idea. I haven't seen that's like stat, but like I totally believe you, because it's one of those weird things. Like, you ever notice, like, if you look at like any social media, if you look at like the breakdown of your fans, it's always Brazil. Like, why do so many Brazilians love it? Like, it is so weird. Like for us, but like even before we'd ever been to South America, like on my old MySpace, like I'd have tons of Brazilian fans. Like, wow. It's so strange. And so I think there's just these weird markets that get really into a band. I guess, I don't know why, Switzerland, we haven't played there in years.
Yeah. It just proves that music is universal. You know what I mean? It's the universal language, no matter what country.
100%.
Very cool. Well, I guess the only other thing you've been generous with your time, but I wanted to ask, with the name Tesla, have there ever been like Elon Musk copyright battles, or does it not matter since it's named after a real inventor, Edison's rival and all that stuff? Like, does Tesla, I guess you're both free to use it, I guess.
Yeah. I know there was sort of some talks about that because I had just joined the band when the car company started to sort of blow up.
Right.
And it was still a pretty new thing. Like, what, an all electric car? What is this all about? It was like, it was a weird thing, and it was pretty small, but it was becoming big. and there was a little bit of like, is there any legal things here? But I think it just sort of like kind of was all right. Like we kind of vetted it. Like, no, it's all good. I think it's, because it's a different, if it was another band, right, it'd be different, right? But it's a different field, like of business. So I think there's no sort of issues, and it's kind of cool, So, and Elon knows about us. There's a photo, I've seen it before, of him wearing an old school Tesla t-shirt on some like red carpet when he's like posing for like all the photos. It's and he's like pointing at his shirt. It's kind of funny.
Electric guitar versus electric car.
That's right. That's right.
Could your Dave Rude, could your electric guitar take his electric car?
Ooh, yes. Can we plug it into the car? Can we power a Marshall amp with a Tesla battery?
Things to think about.
Let's do this.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Again, it's Tesla, the iconic American rock band, going to be coming to Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia here on April 14th. So get your tickets now. Hey, thanks so much for doing this, dude. This was so much fun.
Dude, it was great. Thank you so much for having me. It was really great to talk to you.
All right. Good luck at the show.
Thanks so much, dude.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.